This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, episode number 46 on deck. We're going to be catching up with Thomas Fletcher in just a few minutes to talk about his weekend at Empire Dragway, and then also going to be catching up with John Cira Jr., who was involved with that, a couple of the high roller events coming up this weekend at Empire Dragway as well. Before we get into all that stuff, we're going to be talking with the one and only Jason Oldfield. Season finale coming up on deck for Western New York Super Rod Association.
Well,
right?
Kinda.
Of sorts.
Yeah, I would say, kinda. So the finale actually isn't for a couple of weeks until September 15th, but this weekend is going to be a makeup race and really just an impromptu, hey, everybody, you want to have a super gas race? Sure, let's meet up at Empire and do it. So it should be interesting.
It's easy enough, right?
You know, what happened is that we were actually on the schedule for Labor Day for Empire this weekend, and I never really planned on having a race this weekend. Then we had a rain out earlier this year, and quite frankly, over the course of the week, well, I guess it was last week really, leading up to the last weekend, I probably had 5 or 6 different competitors, regular competitors, asking, hey, are we going to be having a race on Labor Day? And even though the intention was no, I'm like, well, you know what? There seems like there's enough potential interest to do something. So why don't we basically put the feelers out and see what's going on? And I have to say, within 30 minutes of asking people on Facebook, what the status was, if they were interested, I had 10 people that were confirmed, yeah, we'll be there. So
That's field, right?
Yeah.
That's field.
Yeah.
It's enough to do a race.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's enough to do a race. And, basically, we never really planned on this particular race, so we don't really have, let's call it the sponsorship money to be able to do our normal payout for this extra bonus race. So, we're just going to basically, figure something out that works good for everybody. We'll probably do $100 to enter. It looks like we'll probably have 12 cars, my guess. So we'll probably do 800 to win, 400 to runner-up, and everybody gets to go out there and have a second race, have some fun, and enjoy themselves.
Do they have drops? Do you have drops in your series?
We do have drops in our series, yeah.
So this is a good way to score some free points to offset a drop later, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah, sure, why not?
So I saw the invite that you sent me on Facebook. I thought that was the season finale coming up this weekend because all the circle track stuff wraps up, points-wise, all the circle track stuff wraps up on Labor Day weekend.
Oh, does it really?
So without really diving real deep into the post, I'm like, great, we're going to open with this. This is going to make... fun fact for the history buffs tied to Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, next week will be episode number 245 for the Crash Course Drag Racing or Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. So we are now less than 200 behind them.
Well, it's amazing, honestly, because you said that tonight is 46.
46, yeah.
So
I hope so. That's what's on there.
Well, I know it was in the 40s for sure. I guess I'm surprised that we're closing in on 50 episodes. That basically means that we're closing in on 2 years. Yeah,
which is give and take too. Because there's been times where we weren't in studio and the week shuffled around, but still, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty good.
yeah, it is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed, and we're still obviously coming up with new guests to have on. This week we got a couple of return guests. I don't think Thomas has been on the show since he was in the old studio after he won the, I think he was the no box champ that year, or maybe he was the box champ. I think he was the no box champ that year. So I don't think he's been on the show since then. Obviously, he's done a lot of racing since then, but we've always talked about having potentially people come back on the show, but we really haven't had many repeat guests for the most part. It's been new guests almost every episode. So, and there's still plenty more. We got lots of people that would like to be on the show, and it's just a matter of timing and trying to get people on when it makes sense and when their schedule allows.
Did you see Ed McLeaf had some problems?
I did. I didn't really see the details of it.
Starter knocked all the teeth off the flex plate.
Oh, yes.
So they got that thing all apart.
Yeah. and that was at the race last weekend, I believe, at Empire, right?
He was going for one of the 10K races.
Right. Yeah, and, in the end, Thomas won the race on Saturday. Who won now on Sunday? I should know this, but I don't recall off the top of my head. But Thomas said that we can call him anytime that we're ready. So,
so 3 more would give us 49, which would bring us within earshot of that magic number 52. So that if you do that, going by October 2016, which is when the show started,
okay,
we will ultimately, as the math shakes out, have missed only 1 week a year since we started. If we follow that 2-week rotation,
we've been pretty regular. I have to say that. Every once in a while we get. We were actually supposed to be on last week, right? And we didn't get a chance to be on last week, so here we are this week. But yeah, we've been pretty regular for the most part. Hopefully, 2 years in, hopefully people that watch the show still enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure people are sick of me, but
we have 200. We have 203 followers and 199 likes. So that means that my mom didn't like the page, but still follows along.
It's funny because with the West New York Super Rod Association page, I noticed a couple of weeks ago I was going through and it was suggesting people to, invite to like the page. And I was surprised actually at some of the people that are very close to me that hadn't liked it yet. And I was like, really? Come on. Excuse me, Mrs. Oldfield, could you please like our page?
Just send it directly. Did Patrick like it? Hey, it's Chris with Final Round. Are you free to come on? Perfect.
So I don't know the answer to that question, honestly, Chris.
Mine was the only one muted. You could have answered.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually didn't think that yours was muted. I figured that you were letting people...
No, not at all.
I should give you more credit, I guess, than...
I've produced 1 or 2 of these.
Yes.
So we've got Thomas on the phone. One Thomas Fletcher joining us after taking a win at Empire in one of the 10,000 win races and continuing to lead the Division I points for Stock Eliminator. Thomas, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
We're doing okay. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us here for a little while. 10,000 to win race at Empire. That's a good win for the family, I would say.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't a bad weekend. We'll put it that way.
Does what's one of the first things that your dad Dan says to you after a win like that?
I've won a decent amount, I guess, in stock and locally, throughout the years, and this is my first actual, big check, as they say, big, big as in dollar, I guess, and big as in, meaningful to us. Getting a $10,000 win is something I've always wanted to do, and it was just a pretty cool experience for all of us. Car didn't really run, so well Friday night, but I was lucky enough to get down to the chop. We ended up splitting because it got too late. And then Saturday, my dad come out first thing in the morning and messed around with it. Seemed to run good in the time run, and then, ran really good all day long. So, he's a big part of everything we do, and he was just as happy as I was.
So your dad actually was out there to see you win then?
No, he actually came out, worked on the car, and then drove back home to get his stuff ready to leave for Indy.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I have to say, congratulations obviously are in order not only for the win, but you have a baby on the way too, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
I would say, now, when is the baby due?
Could be any day now, but the actual due date is the 25th of September.
Okay, so, it's funny because I actually initially wasn't going to contact you because I'm like, oh yeah, Thomas and Timothy are certainly going to be at Indy with their dad. And then I thought about it and I'm like, I know Tim put in all the money trying to get the free entry into the no-box race draw. And I'm like, but Thomas did that too, so that means Thomas must be around too. So,
Yep.
So you're obviously going to be, I don't know. Timbo obviously is going to be in the no-box race. Do you have an entry into either of those races?
Yeah, I have an entry in the no-box race. My brother has one in the box race, and then did it took the gamble and, tried to get in the no box race that way, and it ended up paying off for him. So
right.
He's entered in both, and I'm just entered in no box.
So what are you going to run, I guess, this weekend? So this weekend is John Cira's high roller races. So yeah, is it 5 or 10 grand to win both days? Or for both classes,
it used to be, the format used to be 32 cars, and it was 10 grand it would pay.
Right.
$500 to enter. But now, we had trouble filling the last couple spots in years past, and just didn't want to have to chase and, run around trying to get money together at the last minute. So he switched it down to 16 cars at the $500 to enter. So it ended up being 5 grand to win.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually, but that's kind of nice, right? I mean, for the people that were willing to put in $500, you just killed a round of racing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, turn 2 win lights on and you get your $500 back. So that's the way you got to look at it for now.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. So what car are you going to be driving then? Are you going to be, I mean, you won the 10 grander in the wagon, right?
Yeah, I'll be in the wagon. The wagon's mainly, I run that bracket racing and locally and whatnot. Whenever I'm, bracket racing, let's say, I'll be in the wagon. And
I guess, do you feel like it's any disadvantage running the wagon? I mean, what do you run in the 8th mile in the wagon in? I mean, it's got to be is it a 7 flat car?
No, I mean, it actually runs pretty good. It goes 650 to 105.
Wow.
And it runs it runs a lot better than you'd think for a 4,000-pound car.
Yeah, that's actually, I have to say, that is a lot quicker than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, in the quarter mile, it'll go 10:30.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
But you guys have never run that car in hot rod or anything, though, have you? I guess you don't have a throttle stop on it, right? That's why.
No, I don't have a throttle stop on it. But actually, one time last year, I did run a 7, the 7 flat. It wasn't a 1090 race, but it was 7 flat, and I shifted it on time early, and it actually ran really good. I mean, it would basically leave in mid wheel stand, shift into high gear, and 7 flat at like 99 miles an hour. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, and I have to say that really just goes to show that you don't need to have a super fast car to be competitive. If you have a good driver behind the wheel of a decent piece, whether it's a car that runs 450 in the 8th mile or 650 in the 8th mile, you can be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more with that. If you got something that'll go out there and run, consistently, day in and day out for an event, and I mean, you're can hit the tree and, rely on the car to do what it's supposed to do. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're going 10 seconds or 4 seconds. Anybody's got a chance nowadays.
Right.
On the topic of that, anybody has a chance. I was down in Virginia over the weekend, and I saw a bunch of RVA stickers. Remember the RVA list?
Yes.
The guys that had the list on there in Virginia. There was a bunch of RVA list stickers kicking around.
Where'd you see that?
We were down in Richmond, near where they run. We're in like Midlothian and Chesterfield.
Yeah.
But we passed a couple of Mopars on trailers, which looked like they might possibly know something about that group that we talked to. It was kind of neat.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's RVA decals all over down there, but I think that's associated with one of the colleges. But a handful of them were specifically the drag crew, which was kind of neat.
Oh yeah, that is kind of neat. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
We got to catch up with them here in a couple weeks. I think their season's going to wrap up. They said they usually go until October, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So we'll catch up with them here probably close to that anniversary show, I would guess, and see how their season ended up.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. That's definitely cool. Now, Thomas, in the final, you beat Carl Drake Jr., right?
Mm-hmm.
And he obviously, I have to say, I kind of feel like in local drag racing circles that he may not get the typical fame that maybe he should. Certainly he's very well known in the high dollar bracket race world. I mean, he's done very, very well for himself doing that. It's obviously it's a super tough race, obviously, in the final, especially again considering the fact that he was dialed. I'm sure he was dialed close to 450, right?
Yeah, I believe he was in his slower dragster. I believe dialed like 470. So his other dragster goes like 430. So
his slow dragster.
Right.
I guess I don't even know what happened in the final between the two of you.
I mean, going down and just back to Carl for a second. I mean, anybody from around here that knows anything about drag racing knows, Drake. He is very good, and he is top notch around here or anywhere you go. I mean, he can drive, and it don't matter what he's in. He can win in anything.
Yep.
But in the final, I mean, we're both 00 and going down the track. I'm set up. I'm going. What I feel as though, a little bit under, and it looks like I got a little bit of room, and I feel like he's coming on me pretty quick. So I'm trying not to do anything stupid down there. But ended up we're both just down there, just killing, just out there having fun actually, and it worked out where I ended up getting there by 2,000 and my win light turned on. So
wow.
it was actually a pretty fun race.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. I mean, 2,000, you're both 00 and you take 2,000 stripe. I mean, and you talk about, now it's in the final for a $10,000 to win. That pretty much shows right there. There's a reason why it's 10,000 to win, right? I mean, that's some pretty serious racing. That's obviously very close.
But does that even register? I mean, with the number of wins and the amount of experience that we're talking about on the track, does that $10,000 thing add any pressure at that point, or are you just worried about the guy that's next to you?
Well, I say definitely don't look at me and ask that question. You got to ask Thomas that question because I've never been in the position to potentially win $10,000.
No, I mean it surely does. I mean, you have a million different things going through your head at that point in time, and honestly, the round for me that's more nerve-wracking or the time to get it done is the semis. I mean, it's either you get yourself to a final at any one of these races, you're gonna get some money. Losing the semis, I mean, you almost did it. You know what I mean? You get to a final and you feel like you accomplished something. You get the accolades, you get the money, and it just definitely the semis to me is the round that you definitely don't want to lose.
Right.
Your dad has obviously had a very storied racing career with a bazillion wins, right? But I have to say, I can't tell you the number of times that I've watched your dad lose in the semis at a national event and knowing it's like, all right, you better hide all the sharp objects because, losing in the semis at a national event blows.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially in a race, NHRA racing is quite a bit different than bracket racing. You at least get you want to say some money in bracket racing. NHRA racing, you lose in the semis, and you literally get nothing.
Right.
I mean, you end up getting out like $100 more than your entry fee.
Right.
It's pitiful for the amount of money that they take in on what they actually pay out.
Right.
NHRA themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why so many people obviously have realized that, the real future or the place to go as a sportsman racer now is all these high-dollar bracket races. Why would you want to go do it? This weekend might be the real exception to that because Indy still is a sacred place, and there's certainly lots and lots of people that definitely want to win Indy. So,
where's that rank on your list?
Winning Indy?
I mean, not so much winning Indy, but the prestige that comes with. I mean, if you look at any other type of motorsport, there's a hierarchy that even fans put together that mirrors that of the drivers, pretty closely in terms of where the prestige is. So where's Indy fall?
Number one.
Yeah,
number one. I mean, for me personally, I've never raced at Indy. I've been there multiple times and watched and helped people, but never raced at Indy. And that is on my short bucket list of things that I'd like to do.
Better start checking stuff off.
Oh, okay.
TikTok.
What are you telling me? I know I'm old. I didn't think I was that old, but granted, everybody goes there and competes. Obviously, would love to say that they came home with the Wally and won Indy, but I mean, my expectations at this point are not that. I just want to go and experience
just make a pass.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, it's a historic racetrack, but it's a totally different type of race too. It really is a marathon. They're making time runs today. I think the first 3 rounds of Super Gas, I'm not sure about stock and Super Stock, but the first 3 rounds of Super Gas are tomorrow. And then they basically run 1 round every day through Monday. So, it's tough. I mean, you're making an elimination pass with no time runs that particular day. Your last run could have very well been 24 hours ago in completely different weather conditions.
Right.
It's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's like if I made it to, I won't even say Monday. If I made it to Sunday, I would consider that to be a victory. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's kind of like what Thomas was saying is just to make sure that you're the reason that you don't miss the chance.
Which in most cases I can turn around and point the finger and say, okay, nice job, jerk. You just lost that race because you stink.
Right.
And yeah, it's definitely tough to lose. It's. I mean, I'm sure Carl Drake was disappointed that he didn't win in the final. But when you lose a race like that, it's hard to be really upset. I mean, you look back and you say, geez, I mean, I did a pretty good job, right? I mean, I was double O on the tree. I mean, I missed the stripe by 2 thou. I mean, it was a really close race. No, okay. Oh, well, I mean, that's the way racing goes sometimes. But, yeah, the ones that blow are the ones that you look back and you're like, yeah, I had that one in the bag and I blew it. And my personal opinion, that's one of the things that separates the good drivers from the bad. The good drivers don't make mistakes. They make you beat them. In our series, Harry Phelps is a perfect example. Harry's not double O and dead on with an O every single time, but Harry doesn't red light against you. Harry doesn't do stupid things at the top end, and yeah, he's going to give you a very small window, and if you can get into that small window, well, that's the way it goes. But he generally doesn't beat himself.
Sure.
And yeah, that's easy to say, but things happen very quickly in the car, and it's very easy to make dumb mistakes. And again, I mean, even for myself, it's like you'll have a plan in place and say, okay, this is the game plan that I'm going to do on this race. And bad drivers like myself, you get halfway down the track and the game plan goes out the window, and you look back afterwards after you lost and you say, why didn't I just stick to the game plan that I had to begin with? But anyways, that's why Thomas is holding $10,000 checks and I'm not, because he's learned from one of the best, obviously. Chris was waiting for you to say something great about your dad.
I thought that's where we were going with it.
But so Thomas, right now you're still. I just checked the points before you came on. You're still number 1 in stock in Division 1, right?
Yes, sir.
I would say you're pretty high. I think you were 7th nationally.
Yeah, something along those lines. To be honest, the national event in stock eliminator, the scores that people are putting up are just absolutely outrageous. I mean, there's multiple. I mean probably 5 of us on there that have 3 or more wins already, and still bettering scores. I mean, it's funny. Bogacki was talking about it on his show the other day. I mean, he wouldn't be surprised if it gets to like 700 to win stock this year, which is, I mean, that's just pretty crazy. And there's 5, 6 guys that have scores well capable enough to put up that score, and it's just, nationally, I don't think with the baby coming and whatnot that I'm going to really have the chance or pursue that.
Right.
Probably what I should, and it's being so late in the year and whatnot. And, but divisionally, I think that where I'm sitting with 1 Division 1 race left, I think the odds are in my favor. But
yeah,
again, I mean, all it takes is 1 race, a couple rounds, and I could be out of the top 5. you really never know, but all you can do is try your best, and the chips fall, they fall.
Right. Now I know that you've won 2 division races this year.
Yes.
All right. I know that Atco a couple weeks ago didn't go as planned. So I mean, you could certainly better that score. Do you have another? I guess how many more division events do you have that you could better still?
I think I've been to 5, so I could go to possibly 3 more.
Yeah.
But I'm really probably just only going to go to 1 more, which would be Epping.
Right.
But I'm bettering 2 first rounds, but like I said, only one of those is going to account for anything. I'm pretty much working myself into accepting a first round loss into my score.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough, I will say, too. You're almost cursed, honestly, because of the fact that you won the 2 races early in the year, right? So at that point, you're now obligated really to chase points the whole year.
Correct. And I mean, this year, with the baby coming and whatnot, I had really had it in my head. I was gonna, focus on local racing, maybe go to a few, and I mean few under 5 out of town races. Just try and get everything ready and prepare myself, for years to come and whatnot. But yeah, like you said, I went out and got lucky on the first 2 races, and then you sit there and you get home and you're like, well, what do I do now?
Right.
So it's kind of handcuffed myself to going to some races I really, didn't want to or didn't think it was right to go to, but you ended up you had to try. So I had to go and try.
Yeah, well, I mean, so far it's certainly paying off. And like you said, I mean, looking at the points, I think if I remember correctly, whoever it was that was just behind you, I think they were 4 points behind you in second place, but they had the same number of races that you had claimed currently. So I didn't look too far down the list. But yeah, that certainly, like I said, looks good in your favor. So yeah, hopefully things, I guess, will work out that you can hold on. And what's the best you've done in division points so far in your career?
I mean, to be completely honest, I've never run more than 2 or 3 divisionals to even put myself on a list of doing anything. This is the most I've ever, gotten a stocker and, ran out of, divisionals and tried to chase points and whatnot. I've never really done well enough or, I guess, cared to, try and chase the points down like that. But this is definitely by far the most accomplished I've been on a list of names in my career, per se.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can bring home the Division I championship. You can cross that off your drag racing bucket list, and then you never have to run another division event ever again, right?
Right, that's the way it sounds, but that's what you shoot for. But I mean, I enjoy divisionals. I don't mind them as much as people despise them. Me and my brother, we go, and they're fun, and you get to see people you don't get to see a lot throughout the year. And I don't mind going to 2 or 3 divisionals, but to say that I've been to going to be going to 6 this year is kind of a lot. Right.
Yeah, and I will say that I always had fun. Well, I won't say always. For the most part, always had fun. I'm sure there was definitely a few where I didn't, but
that is not true.
But for the most part, you have fun at those races. But yeah, the thing that stinks about them is just the cost versus return on what you do, and that actually was one of the reasons why I stopped racing or stopped chasing division points, because.
Right.
I forget what race it was in the season, 5th or something like that. I went 5 rounds. I think it was at Cecil County. So I lost in the quarterfinals, and they handed me my check for like $150. And I was like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Holy cow!" I mean, I went 5 rounds and I get $150. I'm like, for God's sakes! I mean, the weekend's going to cost me at least $1,000. I mean, if you need the money, if that's all you can afford to give me, then you guys obviously need it more than I do. You should keep it.
Right. Right. And then on top of that, once you load all your shit up, you're still 7 hours from the house.
That's right. Yeah.
You're not in your backyard, and they just gave you, $50 or whatever round money. I mean, you are hours and hundreds of miles away from your house, and then now it's Sunday night, you got to work Monday, and it beats you up. And to say, you're going to go there and that's what you want to do, that's what you're going to do, I mean, more power to you, but it definitely takes a lot out of you. Yeah,
it's a lot easier for the guys that are down in the Philadelphia area, because they got, hour or 2 hour tow to basically 5 different events. So it's easy for those guys. Like you said, there was a couple of races that I came home from and drove as far as I could, and it got to be 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm going to fall asleep and kill somebody. I got to pull over and just go to sleep. I can't drive any further.
Right.
And
and that's what's terrible about the way it's structured or whatnot. I mean, for us and you as well as me, Norwalk is 4 hours from our house, and it's not even in our division.
Right.
All these other races are 6 hours. The closest one's 6 hours from the house. I mean,
right.
I don't understand what sense this makes, but I guess that's just how it falls where we live to be considered Division I.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely a curse for sure. But we've had a couple of people on the show that live out in Division 6 and Division 7, and I guess I've come to the point where I try not to complain too much because they're like, what?
Oh, no. Right.
They're like, 8 hours is like the closest division event for us.
Right. And I mean, at that, we have, from me, there used to be, but there's three racetracks within an hour and a half of my house where those guys, I mean, you got to drive 4.5 hours to even hit a racetrack,
right.
let alone, a divisional.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
So you're going to be out there this weekend. Your brother's going to be out there this weekend. I guess we got John Cira coming on to basically talk about the high rollers here in a couple of minutes. Anybody that you got to thank or anything like that before we let you go?
I mean, as always, my parents that go above and beyond and do everything they can to make me happy or be able to do the things that I do. My brother, my sister, my girlfriend, and just the sponsors that help keep tires on the car and help us get everywhere we got to go. Peak, Mickey Thompson, K&N, Denso, VP, ATI. Just those guys. I can't thank everyone enough for everything they do for me and my family.
All right. Well, that's. And I would say that's a pretty good list, and I think it was all inclusive as well. I've had to remind people sometimes, hey, do you want to thank your wife or girlfriend? But
right.
But
I didn't have it written down, but I try and keep it on top of my head so I remember it.
Well, that's great. All right, Chris, you got anything else?
No, just good luck with the baby when it gets here.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Thomas. We'll see you out at the track. I'll be there Saturday. I'll see you Saturday.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Okay,
see you, Thomas.
Take care.
Yep, you too. Bye.
There goes Thomas Fletcher. Looks like he's in a pretty good spot for that D1 championship.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's in a good spot. I can't believe the numbers that they're talking about, what it's going to take to win the national.
I mean, 700 points. I mean, it's basically 100 points to win a race. So right now they're basically, they're thinking that, it's going to – you get 8 races total. So basically you better have 7 wins to put yourself in contention to
I mean, that's
pretty crazy.
It's hard to get your head around that. You got to be extremely good.
I'm not good enough to do that. Yeah, that's just crazy.
Hey, can I put you in? Just a conversation, just a short conversation that we had about the nationals. I'm burned out on those, or the divisionals.
Oh,
with the amount of travel and stuff that goes into those, I mean, somebody's got to look at the map.
That's why you don't want to do that, and you want to stay local and race John Cira's high roller races because it's a much better deal when you look at the investment versus what you get back.
Sounds like a plan. John Cira joining us on the hotline now. John, how are you?
Good, guys. How are you?
Doing just fine. How's everything coming together for the high roller weekend?
Very good. Very good. Some last-minute swappage of people, but other than that, it's been full for quite some time, and looking forward to another one.
That's good to hear. We were just talking about how the divisional has lost some of its appeal given how much travel and how little reward there is, and to make money in drag racing at the local level, a lot of the bracket stuff is at the forefront, and now we've got the high roller race, which is the second big money race that we've had, second or third of the year, big money race,
right,
at Empire. And you're overseeing that one. What's some of your thoughts on where things are at? We've sort of hit on this before once, but wouldn't mind hearing it again.
I think our area is relatively new to the big dollar bracket scene. I mean, for the 7,500 race I did in June, I was got some guys to come from the bigger bracket scene to come north, and Brock Mosier being one of them, who is a really bad dude. He's in the Drake camp pretty much, and he had said pretty much, he goes, I've never been here. I've never heard of this place. I would have never thought to come here. He goes, nobody comes north or knows to come north for a nice bracket race. And he was just didn't realize we had as nice a facility as we do at Empire. And I mean, people just don't know about our area yet.
Sure.
People don't really know about the improvements Jerry's done. And I think, between my race in June and Vince's race last weekend, the 210s, I feel like we've gotten some some pretty decent exposure, so that those two events definitely will grow.
Right.
And I mean, outside of me picking Father's Day weekend, being handcuffed into that weekend, I think I would have got 40, 50 more entries. And I think with the good word of mouth, I didn't really hear any negatives. I feel like next year on a good weekend choice, I mean, I think our area can only get bigger and better for the big money bracket stuff. I mean, it's never going to be as huge as like down south or Ohio, but I feel like we could certainly pull some, and make it worthwhile for people to come from all over.
What means more in that conversation? The conversation that you had, or the conversation that he's going to go have with other people?
They want to basically have a good experience. You know what I mean? No one's
Right.
going to come back to a race if I treated them bad, or if they didn't feel like they were welcome, or if the place wasn't run well, or if the owners were ASS holes and whatnot. But I mean, I introduced a lot of guys to Jerry and Clara, and I mean, they all had a good rapport with me, and I feel like that's all. The race ran very smooth, and I feel like that's all a combination of things that need to happen for someone to want to come back and want to spend 6-8 hours in their truck to go somewhere and know that they're going to have a good experience, and know that they're racing for guaranteed money, and know that there's no confusion and things are going to run well. And I think that happened at both of all the big money stuff we've had at Empire, so I feel like that'll all go a long way in making these races grow.
I agree. I mean, that experience and them to go tell other people is only going to kick that door open wider.
I've already gotten feedback saying that they're going to, man, this was awesome. We're going to get a bunch of people up here next year. And, it can only balloon up from there, I hope, barring not picking a bad weekend,
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you don't really think about it until, you start having a conversation about it. But, yeah, to your point, it's like if you don't really know a facility, are you going to, like I said, you're going to tow all your stuff someplace when you don't know what the pits are like, you have no idea what the racing surface is like, you have no idea what anything is like there, and it's like, do you really want to take that gamble to go someplace? And once you've been there, you're like, wow, this place is really nice. Well, you have no problem going back, but it's making that leap of faith the very first time to go someplace. And to your point, I agree. I mean, I think that Empire is a little unknown still with regard to that, and I think a lot of people still think of Empire the way it was 5-10 years ago before Jerry took it over. So it's a great facility for sure. And I know it wasn't your race, like I said, it was Vince's 10 granders last week, but I mean, how many people were out there last weekend?
I think he had about 100 per day.
Okay.
For a single, for the first time event, I feel like that's pretty good. And it can only, like I said, I think everything ran well. I mean, barring, bad weather and stuff, races like that ran well. I mean, I didn't hear any negative feedback from it. I mean, he paid back very well, I think. And, they can only get better, I hope. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, for the 7500s that you had, did you have 180 cars or something like that?
I had 100 and... I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure it was like 170 for the first day and like 160, 65-ish the second day. I had some guys leave, I only could commit for one day, but... Right. I mean, you're also talking about a little bit of difference of money, too. I mean, 250 versus 400 might have, some of the local guys, I think, were a little hesitant to put up $400. So,
right.
I mean, I think that was maybe a little bit of a deal breaker for some. That's why when I did mine, I felt like 250 was flirting with the number that was on the range of almost too high. Not that there's anything wrong with 400 for 210s. I just, feel like 250 for the 75s. I mean, granted, 400 for 210s is a great value. I'm not disregarding that, but I just feel like in the local area, I feel like you're getting on that threshold of maybe, when you're spending 400 and then you have a $100 buyback. I feel like that's things that guys look at and like, well, I don't really know if I could spend that kind of money. I mean, and that's, I think, it's scared a little bit of some people, but
no, I agree.
I think that takes into a lot of effect, but you never know. Maybe next year some more guys be willing to take a shot. The money was all guaranteed. I mean, I guess it comes into the mentality where, like, I understand that $400 is a lot, but I also understand that if your glide breaks tomorrow, you're going to spend $1,200 to get that fixed.
Right.
So I guess I have, you got guys with like $30,000 to $60,000 race cars or higher. You don't want to spend that kind of money. I think we've had this discussion with the high roller before when you're talking about putting up $500. You don't want to put up that kind of money to get some return on your investment, because I'm going to get off the phone with you guys, and I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to swap carburetors on my truck, and then I'm going to put a new fan and whatnot in my dad's Nova this weekend so I can run both of them. I mean, that's all stuff that costs money. Don't you want to have some return on that? I guess
Right.
Sometimes I don't understand the mentality,
Right.
Yeah, I know Phil and I were talking about it last weekend, and I forget what division event. Was it Bowling Green was last weekend, maybe?
Yes.
But
Bowling Green
it's
is always
like
the weekend before Indy.
I would say I know when we were comparing the 10 granders versus going to division. Oh, you know what we were talking about? We were talking about the open race at Cayuga. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because that was the same weekend as the 10 granders, and honestly, in my mind, it really made no sense to go to Cayuga for the Open when you looked at, hey, you know what, for an extra $50 a day, instead of running for $500, I can run for $10,000. Now, granted, you're going to have a lot more cars and potentially it's a different style of racing. You're not class racing anymore. You're just bracket racing, but
right.
Yeah, return on investment just from a gambler standpoint, right?
Sure.
If I'm going to go and plunk down $150, do I want to go plunk down $150 to potentially win $500 or $200 to win $10,000? That's a no-brainer.
The only people I can't blame for going to Canada is if you had a stocker or a super stocker. That was $6,000 a day to win up there.
That's right.
Those are the only people I could say, you know what, maybe that's your better play, because those cars in the top bulb scene just obviously aren't comparable.
Right.
Those guys I could see. If you had not to take anything away from any .90 class, but going up there with a .90 car was certainly not the better play than staying home and racing for $10,000 a day, in my opinion.
No, I agree. The only thing that I'll say there is that if you wanted that grade point because next year you wanted to be able to go to a national event, that's the only other reason I could see going to Cayuga to get yourself that grade point. But yeah, sure. Otherwise it made no sense to go there.
Right, and there were definitely other options just as far away to get that grade point.
Right.
You gotta pick and choose your battles. I'm not gonna go get my grade point when there's 2 10-granders and 45 minutes from home.
Right.
Grade point can wait, in my opinion.
Right. Now this year, Thomas actually just mentioned that you changed the high roller format this year.
I did. I made it 16 cars instead of 32, and I added an 8-car junior dragster race for the ankle biters because they wanted a high roller.
So I guess let's start with the juniors since they're new. So it's what's the entry and what's the payout for the juniors?
The junior dragsters is an 8-car race, $200 a car.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-round race for $1,000, and it's $1,000 to win, $400 to runner up.
It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty
good.
good.
High rollers I changed. I went, 32 cars is a good no box number that I could have filled every year, but box, there was too much. You're dealing with this year. We're coming up on September. You're dealing with a lot of cars breaking and stuff, and it just 32 is such a big number to get guys, to get cars to stay healthy, to stay,
right.
Even at 16 cars, I've had a couple break in, but luckily I've had a wait list, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to have a full field with a wait list, so that when the day came and I had some guys break, okay, you know what, one guy out, one guy in, and then
right.
32 cars, you end up with 30, and then someone breaks, now you got 29, and no box. Some of them guys wanted to race for the same money as box, so I was like, you know what? Okay, here we go. 16 cars in each, $500, $5,000. Everyone's got the same payout.
Yeah.
Now it's, now it's on a level playing field. There's a few guys that are doubled. Billy Lieber's doubled, and Tim Fletcher's doubled, and with different cars, and it's way easier to fill 16 and have a reserve of a waiting list instead of having it. Because once you get to 29, Jerry's still got to get his money, and then you're racing for odd numbers. I want to race what I advertise for. I don't want to end up being short, and then
right.
While the $10,000 check's really for $9,000, I didn't want to deal with that. It was a little hectic last year trying to scramble to get spots filled. So now this year it said, you know what? 16 cars, you have no problem filling 16 bad dudes on each side. guys want to wait and be on the waiting list, I'll have 4 or 5 guys on the wait, and that's, that'll be it. And even this week, talking to you, Peter Maduri was in both, and then broke both of his cars Tuesday at Lancaster, so he had to drop out of ones, and then I did a raffle online to fill a no-box spot, and then I had to fill another spot, and someone sold their car, so now I had to fill that spot. So it was good to have a waiting list to just keep plugging guys in,
Well, I guess it's good of you to work with guys. I know we'll do something similar that, the day of the race, if one of our competitors goes and breaks prior to the ladder being done, I'll give them their money back. It's like, I'm a racer too, right? And it totally stinks to break your car because it costs a lot of money to fix it. And so, I mean, to work with racers like that and basically say, hey, you know what, look, I mean, yeah, I'm looking for people to reserve their spots, and not to say that there's not any risk associated with it, but, that's pretty darn fair to basically say, hey, you know what, if, under, different circumstances, something happens where you can't compete, yeah, I'll work with you to be able to, not hold you to the entry and get you your money back because we have a waiting list there. So that's a good way to do it, really.
No, I thought so too. It's just a way to keep it full, so I'm not scrambling on the end of the day. I'll be busy this weekend racing myself, and the last thing I wanted to deal with was trying to scramble to find guys to fill a race. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, I mean, as a racer and a gambler, does it? I mean, you're not competing in your own races, right?
Nope, I am not. It's bad for business.
I understand. I would say I don't believe you've ever competed in your own races. But, I mean, does it kind of kill you to be putting this race on? This is the exact kind of race that you'd like to be in, right?
Right. Well, I can honestly tell you that this race doesn't bother me. The high roller, not being in that, I'm okay with that. The 7,500 race, when I was in the lanes watching all that unfold, and I'm thinking to myself, as it's scorching hot and I've walked like 15 miles burning up, There's really 4 chances at $7,500 to win, and I'm not playing.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? But whatever. It is what it is. That's a decision I made. Yeah, I probably could have raced it, but I also want to entrust that everything's going how I would want it to go. So that's why I didn't want to race. I wanted to be the one to say, okay, you know what? I want the radio in my hand. These are the cars I want to these lanes. I was in the back of the lanes. I directed every single car to every lane, and everyone knew where they were supposed to go. And running smooth was more important to me than racing it.
Right. Well, you know what your problem is?
I got a lot of those.
Well, your biggest problem with regards to racing is that you don't suck. See, if you suck like I do, then you can race in your own series because people are like, oh, great, I got Oldfield first round. There's an easy buy run, and then you can just spend the rest of the day organizing the race. And so,
right. Like, I thought about, I was almost hoping that there was a empty spot in the high roller in the box side, so I had a reason to race Dad's Roadster, and I would tell the field, listen, you want to race a 15 or you want me to make a 16?
Right.
I thought about that for a minute, but I don't want to do that.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, I certainly get that. Now, I mean, so this weekend, you're going to be racing your Dad's Roadster with us in the Western New York Super Auto Association. That's not your first time driving that car, is it?
This will be my 3rd day with it.
Okay. I was pretty sure that you had raced it previously.
I drove it 2 weeks ago for the first time, and I drove it last week at the Twin Tens and Vince's race for the first time.
Oh, okay. And I know you said this week that you don't really know a heck of a lot about the throttle stop, and you've never taken a Pro Tree, but that's the thing I told you online. That's one of the reasons why I love you, because it's like, all right, so I've never done this before. Well, we're going to give it a go anyways and see how it works out, right? Not afraid to take a chance.
Never done it. Never whacked it. Never. I mean, it took me three or four, times in there to be like, you know what? All right, let go and now mash it.
Right.
Top yellow. I actually just looked at the last night. I was messing around with Dad, and I just literally looked for the first time at the throttle stop settings. So first time telling myself to mash as I stage and letting go on all 3. I might mess that up, but I think I'll be okay. We'll figure it out.
Now your dad this weekend, he's going to Cayuga?
Yep, he's going super stock racing again.
So you're going to be on your own then.
Oh yeah, I was on my own last weekend in the Twin Tens. Everyone was looking at me like I was crazy. He's like, "Where's your dad?" I was like, "Well, I almost think there's something wrong with him because he won't tell me." Because not only did he let me drive it 2 weeks ago, but and everyone who knows my dad and knowing my dad's never let me come close to the cars. And he's been a little more lenient lately. I've gotten my life together as it is. You know what I mean? I've gotten rid of some of my old bad habits like gambling and gambling and gambling. So I've showed that I can have some responsibility. So he's starting to let me have the leash. We took the Super Stocker to Memphis last year for the Summit Super Series World Finals, which I'm doing again this year.
Yep.
And he let me race the car 2 weeks ago, and then my truck's had an issue for 2 weeks. I'm going to get off the phone with you guys soon and go see if I can swap carburetors and see what the issue is. But he said, "You know what? You're leading the points in pro. Take my blue car too." So I literally raced both of his cars.
Wow. In
my Camaro in street. I had 3 different cars in 3 classes, and he sat and put fuel in the other 2 while I raced them all. It was the weirdest thing ever. People will look, and he let me take it without him last weekend. And again, that's happening this weekend. So I am also happy, but also a little worried that, he's just something's a little wrong with him, and he's not really telling me what it is.
And I was actually curious as I was driving out here tonight. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how is John getting all the different cars to the track?
Oh, that was fun last weekend. Well, luckily my Camaro is sitting at Empire right now. So
okay.
Last week, I brought one rig out, left the whole rig there, drove the Camaro back to Dad's, then drove the other rig out. What's wrong with him, and he's not really telling me. What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought I heard something.
Nope.
So I basically left my Camaro at Dad's, drove the other rig out. Truck was having lots of issues. Decided to not race it on Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday. I just raced my Camaro, and Chucky White let me hop in his Malibu and run no box in that.
Okay.
Which was fun to do 5-foot wheelies in. Never even done a wheelie before. Anyway. And I just drove them back and forth and made an extra trip, but it was worth it.
So now this weekend you're gonna try and run the truck and the Camaro and your dad's Roadster?
No. I'm gonna hopefully run the truck if the issue is fixed. If not, I'm gonna run the Camaro in no box. My dad's car is getting ran in box and super rod regardless.
Okay.
I'm gonna run the wheels off everything.
You're gonna be busy.
That's why I said online, I go, whoever I'm paired with in super rod or whatever the run order is, I just need enough time to put a little gas in it, and I'll be right back up. She's on Alky, she'll run all day.
Well, the high roller races, you're going to run those in the evening probably, right?
Yep.
So those will be completely separate. And, yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know how many guys will have potentially double enter, but my guess is that we can definitely, schedule the run order somehow that, we get far away from the classes that guys are double entering in. So
right. I'll be up there. I'll be the first one down in box. I'll have fuel in it, and I'll be in the lanes probably before some of the other guys are up there. I don't mess around. I'll get up there. Don't worry.
All right.
Won't be waiting on me too long.
Well, I'm going to say, and that's generally the only thing that, I don't mind the guys double enter, knock yourself out. Just do everything you can to try and make it so that we don't all have to wait, right?
Absolutely. You're not going to wait for me. I just got to remember to flip the switch from full tree to pro tree.
Right. So you're leading the points right now in no box.
I'm leading the points in pro and street, yes.
Pro and street, okay.
No box and street, yes.
Now, last year, where did you finish last year?
Last year I won pro and I runner-up in street.
And the year before?
The year before I won... what did I win the year before? I think I maybe won street the year before and finished like second or third in pro.
I would say that was wasn't that the year that it was you and Perkins that came down like the last day?
Yeah. I won street, he won pro, and Timothy Fletcher won super pro. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So basically,
I'm trying to win them both. I don't think anybody's ever won them both in the same year at Empire, and I'm trying to be the first to do so.
So if you win both, you could either give yourself 2 shots at being the grand champion or give yourself a bye run into the final of being the grand champion.
That would be ideal, yes. That would be I'll probably just tell the winner of box that I'll be up in my truck when they're done, whatever.
Right. Though I will say that I'm sure there's probably some people potentially listening that are like, oh, look at him. He's already talking about winning 2 classes and having a bye run in the grand championship. We'll show him.
Oh, no. I'm the last person to ever count the chickens before they hatch. I'm street. There's only 2 points races left. In street, I have an 11-round win. I have an 11-round lead in that, so I don't think I can squander that.
I would say that's over.
In pro, I have a 5-round lead, I think.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Wow.
So I like to think I can hang on to that one, but it doesn't take much to lose that if something goes wrong and someone gets hot. So Brandon Imalley actually is 5 back, and he made up 7 points in the last week to run off with me in the Summer Super Series runoff. Luckily, I was able to beat him with the Camaro, so I get to go to Memphis again. But he made a 7-point jump in 1 week, so it can happen. So I'm not counting any chickens yet on winning them both.
Yeah, no doubt, right? I guess I didn't realize that, with an 11-round lead,
even
Street's not locked up, right?
They're usually 5-round races, so I would say, barring me not going, it's pretty solidly done.
So, well, I'm not gonna say nothing until it's locked up.
That's right.
Until mathematically it's impossible for anything else to happen. So we'll keep our trap shut for now.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else that we need to know with regards to this weekend's race?
No. 3 days of no box racing and a high roller Saturday night with some super rod and some 470. I don't really know. If there's something you're looking for this weekend and it's not on the menu, then I don't really know what you're looking for. It's going to be 3 good days of racing, and it should be a good time. And weather looks pretty good. A slight chance on Sunday, but you know what? I think we'll be okay.
There's always a slight chance of rain too. So, yeah,
right.
Yeah, we'll be all right. And I agree. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of cool racing out there this weekend. I'm looking forward to going and spending the weekend out there.
Absolutely, me too.
All right, John. Thanks. Appreciate you joining us, and look forward to seeing you in the lanes Saturday morning.
All right, boys. Have a good weekend, and if I don't see you, have a good Labor Day. Jason, I know I'll see you, so I'll see you maybe in a final or something.
All right. Sounds good, John.
All right, buddy.
All right. See ya.
See you later, John. Thanks for coming on. There goes John Cira Jr. Always good to have him on. He's a riot.
Oh, yeah.
He's just so laid back. It's like, whatever happens.
He's laid back, but he's not afraid also to tell people his opinion.
Yes, that is a fact.
Did you see?
It got busy on the Facebook page for Empire.
Yes, it did.
Very busy.
Yes, it did. And that was basically him essentially calling people out and saying, look, quit your whining, right? What the heck are you complaining about? He's not afraid to do that. And he's a good dude for sure. His
regular schedule applies for this weekend. You're going to be there. Typical schedule for.
So no, Empire now goes to their fall schedule. So gates are actually opening on Saturday and Sunday at 8:30. Time trials are starting at 9:30. We'll probably end up running first round of eliminations. I'm guessing noon, 1 o'clock. Okay. Which I'm not much of an early bird, but honestly, I'm looking forward to it, especially on Saturday. Finish. Let's get this thing done and finish up early, and then you can basically just hang out and enjoy the evening. Sure. Have a picnic, have a couple of pops, and then hang out and watch the high roller races. That's fun too. Watching those guys, what's on the line. It's 4 rounds for $5,000. That's a lot of money.
EmpireDragway.com has all of that information if you want to go find that out. Get out there. Racing starts early, so you have a chance theoretically to get home at a decent time.
If you wanted to, or you could, basically skip time runs and come out and basically get there at, let's call it noon when eliminations are starting, and hang out until 8, 9 o'clock and party into the night if you feel like it.
Sounds like a plan.
You gonna be there?
Birthday weekend.
For you?
Alan. Alan's birthday. Alan's birthday is the 3rd, so Saturday, Melissa's dad's coming into town, and then Sunday we're doing one with my family.
Did you ask him? Maybe he wants to go to the drag races for his birthday.
He was very clear on what he wanted to do. He was very clear.
And it wasn't the drag races?
It was not. It was not. He wanted to see Papa on Saturday. He wants to throw some spray paint on a couple RC Derby cars, and then Sunday he wants to play with the neighbor kids.
I guess if that's what he wants.
That's what he wants. That's what he wants. Oh, yeah, and then there's that list that's about this long of all the Seth Rollins-related regalia that he wants to get his hands on for his birthday. But
that's a different show, right?
It's a different time. It's a different time. We'll see how his birthday plays out. I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, maybe we can get you guys out there the weekend of the 15th, the banner day. You can come and enjoy the barbecue, and who knows, maybe I could even convince you to bring the broadcasting equipment out and do some video from the track.
We can discuss that later at the production meeting.
Over a couple of pops. All right.
Sure.
That sounds good.
We cover everything we needed to tonight thus far?
I think so.
I mean, for looking as bleak as it was about 4 o'clock, this turned into a pretty good episode.
I thought so, too.
It worked out great.
Thankfully, we got some good people, not only good guests, but we got some good people out there that are willing to join us, kind of last minute and talk about stuff. So appreciate Thomas and John Cira Jr. coming on the show to help us out and talk about their racing endeavors.
For sure. I think that's going to do it for us here. Episode number 46 in the books. We're going to be back here again in a couple weeks, and we'll do it all again, recap some of that stuff, and start looking at what's happening for the end of the season as local points battles wrap up, and division battles will be getting pretty close to done, too, at that point as well. Maybe we'll be talking to Thomas again.
Very possible.
Who knows? We'll be listening for that baby in the background. That's going to do it for this one here from the North Park building at Academy Square. We're going to be back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.